Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video for Eve Echoes. Now today I wanted to sit down and talk about what happens next now that the beta is closed and that I've run out of content to show for Eve Echoes. Yeah, sad times. Now before we jump in, if you do enjoy my content, please let me know by hitting like on the video that you enjoy and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. There is also a little notification bell down there that you can ding. That will give you notifications every time I put a video out so that you don't miss anything. I will be keeping as up to date with Eve Echoes news as I can be, and if anything happens at all, it will go straight onto my channel as like an emergency video, so do make sure notifications are switched on. That said as well, if you do want to keep in contact, let me know in the comment section down below what you enjoy, what you're looking forward to most about Eve Echoes coming out. Then come find me on various different social media channels you see on screen now. I would love to have a chat with you guys, hear your thoughts about Eve Echoes, and of course if you keep in contact with me that way, you'll also have other ways of knowing as soon as I do if there's any further news. Right, all that said and done, let's jump right in. So, we know that the wormhole, in inverted commas, for the Eve Echoes beta closed on the 10th of January. Yeah, it's been that long already, and I'm amazed that I haven't completely snapped and, like, killed someone yet, genuinely. Genuinely, like, the... I miss it. I really miss the beta, like, the pangs, withdrawal symptoms, man, you know, it's insane. I gave up smoking and it wasn't this bad. But yeah, so the beta closed on the 10th of January, and the big question on everyone's lips has been, when is everything coming back? When do we get to jump back into New Eden on mobile? Now, what the developers have said, and Sovereign RPG was the first to really point this out, I'm going to put a link up to the top right here, to his channel and give him a big shout out. He was the first to sit down with the devs and say, right, okay, so what happens next? In short, the developers have said that they are aiming for a Q3 2020 release. Now, Q3 is the third financial quarter for 2020. That would mean sometime between July to October. Now, it is an aim. It's an aim, so it might be as late as November or December 2020, which frankly, just saying that makes me feel ill and slightly at pain. But there we are, that's what it is. It could be sooner that we get access. I mean, heck, if they manage to land it into July, there might be a soft launch in June. There could be future beta, like closed beta tests, that kind of thing. We genuinely don't know. That There's really no information on this. All that we know is it is scheduled for an attempted launch Q3 2020. Q3 2020 is the quote. So anything beyond that is pure speculation. Will there be a further testing? Will there be another beta? Yada, yada, yada. All speculation. I hope so, because I'm going insane over here. Now, also, this then means, what does that mean for all of us going forward? What can you do in the meantime? Well, as I said, I mentioned Sovereign RPG earlier. He's got a great YouTube channel based on EVE Online and EVE Echoes. Go check out, he's been running a load of videos regarding the lore of the different races and factions. So if you're interested to know who the Angel Cartel are, or who the Amar are, and what their sort of backstory is, he's got some videos on those, and those are great fun just to keep you occupied for a couple of hours watching those. Check him out. Well worth watching some of his content too if you're into EVE Echoes. Beyond that, of course, playing EVE Online is a great way to sort of scratch that itch. It's free to play. Of course, there is a monthly subscription for an Omega level account that just gives you access to additional ships and some other bits and pieces. Certain higher tier skills, that kind of thing. Frankly, you can jump into EVE Online completely free. The Omega sort of thing, the way I like to think of EVE Online is that it is a monthly subscription game, but if you are unable to pay the monthly subscription for a particular month, then you can just drop down to an alpha account and you can still use most of the stuff. You can still play the game, you can still get your fix. You just, it's slightly more limited. Now, we know that that is a system that is going to be coming to EVE Echoes as well. That has been confirmed, that Alpha and Omega accounts will be a thing, which means that if you are paying the monthly subscription, you will have access to higher tier skills than some people will do, and there'll be some ships probably that are gated behind the Omega account. Only Omega pilots can fly. It means you can still play the game completely free to play, and the wonderful thing about EVE as well is that you buy your account time, your Omega time, using a currency. I'm trying to think of the word there. A currency called Plex. Now, Plex can actually be bought in-game with ISK. This means if you work hard enough as a free-to-play player, you can actually buy Omega account time without using a credit card, without using any real-world money at all. You use the in-game money to buy Plex, you then use the Plex to buy your account time, and as long as you're active enough, and as long as you're, you know, making enough money, yeah, you can actually have a fully paid-for account without actually spending a single dollar on it, which is really cool. Now, on the subject of things to hope for as well, of things that are coming in Eve Echoes, first things first, obviously we know corporations are going to be a thing. For those of you who don't know what corporations are, corporations in Eve Echoes and Eve Online are kind of like guilds or clans in other games, in other MMORPGs. The idea being that it's a way for you to group together with like-minded individuals to achieve bigger goals. Like Fleet is like a temporary party that you just group up with someone for a quick event. That's what fleets are. The corporations, on the other hand, are the big alliances, the big guilds, groups, clans, that kind of thing. Corporations, ultimately, you'll find that some people set up mining corporations where everything is designed around them maximizing their mining output. So you mine in groups together. Some people call that herd mining. You might be like a security expert like I was. I used to fly around and just protect miners in a corporation. Wasn't a mining corporation. But my job was just to basically be convoy, hired security, that kind of thing. Certainly, people have been asking, are you going to be opening up a corporation, Benzi? Yes, 100% I will do. I'm not giving the name of that corporation yet, nor am I explaining exactly where that corporation is going to be based. Simply because I don't want the game to launch, me to have like no power because this is Zimbabwe and that happens, thus I can't get into the game and some enterprising individual, some griefer, comes along, steals that name and flies out to where I want our base of operations to be. If you want more information on that, if you want to be one of the first to know, the best thing to do is to come and join the Gaming Galleon Discord. Again, if you jump back to the beginning of the video or look in the description down below, you'll see there are links for that. I think it's discord.io/CPTBenzi. That will bring you to my personal Discord. There is an Eve Echoes chat there. Keep your eyes on that. Obviously, the first people to know are going to be the people who are in my personal Discord. Anyone is welcome to come. We talk about a lot of different mobile games and that there as well. But obviously for Eve Echoes Corporation, that's where that's going to start. There's already a locked away section of that Discord, which I will be using when the corporation actually goes live, so that anyone who's in that Discord, you will have access to everything. If you're part of the Eve Echoes Corporation, there'll be a separate channel, a separate load of channels for that. So yes, 100% there is going to be a corporation set up for me, based around me. Ultimately, for people who are asking, oh, is it going to be a mining corp? Is it going to be? It's going to be a bit of an everything corp. Ultimately, the way I'm looking at it is a pirate cartel. Kind of like the Angel Cartel kind of thing, in that we will have some legitimate businesses going on, like mining and shipbuilding and manufacture and all that kind of thing, but there will be a large emphasis on PvP as well, which of course does mean we're going to be based down in nullsec. Lol, that's going to be good fun, for I know some of you have never really travelled out into the nullsec. That's why I'm doing this. It's a great chance for you to come out to nullsec, experience what it's like, and have a fleet of people around you to really get to experience Eve at its best. Now, other things that I'm hoping for in regards to Eve Echoes, I thought I'd cover that quickly in this video as well. Ultimately, we know that things like Capitals and Titans are probably on their way at some point, carriers, dreadnoughts, that kind of thing. In honesty, I really hope those don't get added for a long time. I really hope that Eve Echoes stays sort of this, not stripped down's the wrong word, that minimalistic, cleaner, narrower view of Eve for quite a bit of time. I mean, there are so many ships in the game already and so many tech levels that we're going to have to climb. I think adding those in early on is just going to be a mistake. People who get all the way up to that, I don't know. Some people love the carriers and things like that. And I'm not going to say I dislike them. I'm just going to say I think there's better things they can be focusing on first, and that those should come out much later. Give people a chance to get themselves set up first, then have those launch at a later date as something to work towards. Talking about the tech level, that is something that I am seriously hoping gets a big rejig. With the beta, it was really around tech level sort of 6 to 8 that the game started kicking off. Anything before that and just so limited on what you can do. And there were also just some really weird design decisions. If you were the kind of person who wanted to be a space trucker, turns out that most of your hauling ships are right up at Tech 9 or Tech 10, which means you need to be basically in endgame before you can start doing basic hauling. No, I don't think that's going to be that way around. Same with if you've watched my guide to Thrashers, you'll hear me talk about how that the Covert Ops Thrasher is a Tech 10 ship. Yes, you can have a battle cruiser or a battleship at tech level 8, but no, you cannot have a covert ops destroyer until tech 10. Like, really? My theory behind this was that ultimately there were certain ships they wanted us to be able to test, and those were thus put to lower tiers. Whereas some of the ships that they ultimately didn't really want people to go into, the interdictors, that kind of thing, then they've pushed those to higher tech levels so that we didn't get to play around with those and try and use things that weren't ready for testing ultimately. That's my theory, at least. I've got nothing to back that up. What that means to me is that we'll have the tech levels completely rejigged. I imagine you'll see things like the trainer cruisers being available at a much lower tech level than they were, so that you can get into those a little bit earlier, but then the more specialised ships being pushed further up. That's not to say things like covert ops destroyers being tech level 10. I'd imagine those coming in, like a destroyer is available from what, tech level 2, 3? 3, I think it was. Tech level 3 is the standard Thrasher. So tech level 3 is your standard destroyers, tech 4 is your slightly more in-depth destroyers, then maybe by tech level 6 or 7 you're getting things like the covert ops and the real specialised like interdictors, things like interdiction sphere launchers. That kind of thing is something you want much further up the ranks. I'd like to see things like the burst and the other healing, sort of the logistics ships being reduced a little bit as well, having those to be earlier access so you can get to really push the fleet mechanics and that forward in the game as well. That's something I'd like to see, but ultimately I think there is going to be a big rejig of how ships are laid out on the tech level. I don't think the tech level is going to change all that much. Some of the numbers might change a little bit to make it a little bit faster to get to some of the earlier tech levels, and then it slows down later on. I mean, heck, people only reached, what, tech level 8? I think a couple may have reached tech level 9. I genuinely don't remember now. And that was with the devs giving us freebies of billions of skill points to really push us up. So it's going to be a lot longer before anyone reaches those levels, meaning I think they are going to push a lot of those ships further down the scale, just so that you're not waiting for like 3 months after launch to jump into your first Hurricane. That would make me sad. So that all said as well, what other things would I like to be able to see you can do in the game? Well, I've touched on hauling. Hauling, I'm hoping, gets a major rework and that it actually becomes something that is worthwhile doing, like it is in EVE Online. I mean, EVE Echoes, obviously, it does need to be changed a little bit as it is on a mobile device. You are going to be doing this on the go, sitting on the toilet at work, that kind of thing. So there's not the whole kind of, right, I'm sitting down at my computer, I've got 4 hours to really grind some hardcore stuff out. That's not how it's going to work on mobile, but I do think hauling needs a bit of a shift around just to get some like better ideas of what's going on there. You know, make it a bit more lucrative. I'm not saying make it the most lucrative business, but in the beta there was literally no point doing it. I did put out a couple of videos just showcasing how you can do it if you wanted to waste your time, but I'm really hoping that they are going to go overhauling, redo it, and figure out a way to make it an actual viable income. That said as well, that means things like wormholes and probing. Probing in EVE Online, you can go out with a ship, you can launch probes into the solar system that you're in, and you can kind of move those probes around in a really cool minigame that allows you to scan for different kinds of anomalies. In EVE Echoes, you kind of just pulled into an area and all of the anomalies were on the overview. You could just kind of click into any combat anomaly, any mining belt, all that kind of thing. In EVE Online, there are some combat anomalies that are just available and some that are some mining anomalies, you know, asteroid belts and that are just available, but there are some that you actually have to scan for. You have to scan to find where in the solar system that actually is, and then you can set a marker to that point. You hone in, you know, use your probes to scan the area, hone in on what exactly it is you found. You then get to set a marker using those that you can now warp to and from at leisure. And one of the things that you can find, of course, on top of like the more adventurous, shall we say, combat anomalies and the more lucrative minefields, you can also find what are called wormholes. Now, wormholes, ultimately in EVE Online, they either jump to a completely random system, so you could be all the way up in Jita, jump through, find a wormhole, jump through it and find that, whoa, suddenly you're all the way down in a Mars space, or you're in Malden Heath or somewhere on the complete other side of New Eden, which is very useful if you're doing fleet mechanics and you want to get a load of people from A to B quickly. Some people do actually find ways to sell and market that information. They find wormholes, find where those wormholes are going, and then sell that information to corporations in order to better the corporation's ability to jump between space very quickly and nice and easily. On top of that as well, there are certain cases where wormholes actually go into what is referred to as wormhole space, or J space, which is kind of its own off-the-map sort of systems, and there can be some really cool stuff hidden in those wormholes, again, which can be incredibly lucrative for the right buyers. If you find a wormhole that leads into J-space that is incredibly high on combat anomalies, for example, you can sell that to a combat guild. You might find that there are some ridiculously lucrative mining fields in there. So again, kind of information you can sell, or just go back to your guild and back to your corporation and go, hey, look what I found. Wormholes are a really cool thing. They're creepy looking as all heck, but I'm really hoping that we do actually get wormholes and proper probe scanning added into Eve Echoes as well. Now, my final wish is a little bit of a personal one. That is that rifters get fixed. Now, when Eve Echoes beta first launched, I sat there and I did the immediate thing of, yay, start Minmatar, jump into a rifter, go to kit it out with all the cool stuff that I know I normally do on EVE Online, and it has almost no power grid and really low capacitor and is missing all of the slots that would make it remotely worthwhile. It's got no useful abilities at all. It is literally a get you from point A to point B ship. That's sad. Rifter drifters, proper rifter pirates was a big part of my history in EVE Online. I know a lot of people have done that as well, because rifters are like these super cheap frigates that you can just buy, kit out for a couple of million ISK. Load it up and go out and PvP to your heart's content, and you can actually do some real damage with these things. I don't want them to be ridiculously OP. I mean, rifters did get a nerf in EVE Online a while ago, but when they did that pass in the beta, where I did a video on it with the patch notes, where they announced that all of these ships are suddenly getting big boosts to their power grid, and they're getting additional slots and all that kind of thing, I was like, yay, my rifters are saved, and then I realised that it was only ships that are Tech 3 and above, and rifters are Tech 2. So it's a sad day for me as a Minmatar Rifter pirate to see that the Rifter is pretty much useless in Echoes, and I would dearly love to see that change. Ultimately, for me, on a personal level, this means that when the game goes into live, my personal objective normally would have been, right, I'm a frigate pirate. What I'm going to do is skill heavily into frigates, start going out pirating and doing my own little Weasley Black-hearted sort of stuff. They're pillaging and raiding, and making money that way, and protecting miners and all that kind of thing. Now, when EVE Echoes launches, I'm actually going to have to skill into Destroyer for a little bit of time. I'm going to have to skill into Destroyer and go into Thrashers. Now, I'm not complaining too much. Thrashers, the the 3-guild belt shark, as people call them. Thrashers are a great ship, and I adore Thrashers. I got a bit of a reputation in the beta for being the Thrasher guy, apparently, hence the Thrasher guide video. And I do love my Thrashers, don't get me wrong, but it kind of annoys me that I'm going to have to go from starting in frigates, move up to fully skilling into like destroyers, only to then come back down into frigates once I'm using things like the Worm or the Succubus or, of course, my beloved Drumiel. So there is a little bit of please fix the Rifter before launch so that I can kind of use Thrashers as my side thing, and I can stick with Rifters and then go straight into the faction frigates, and that I don't have to do that via destroyers. I will tech into destroyers as well, but I can't let me focus on what I want to focus on, you know? Anyway, I'm ranting on entirely too much right now. The information I wanted to give was basically when that release date is actually going to be, what this means going forward, what kind of things you can be doing in the meantime to kind of scratch that itch, and what we're looking for to hopefully come in the game when it launches globally. Of course, do stay subscribed to this channel. If there is any further information that I find out about the game, I will put out a big video going, hey guys, look at this new information, it's awesome! So subscribe, ding that bell, come find me on any of the social media channels, keep an eye on those. I will be doing shoutouts as soon as I get any EVE Echoes info. I do a lot of mobile gaming videos on this channel, various different things. I cover a lot of different mobile games and just mobile gaming in general. When EVE Echoes launches, this channel is going to hit that hard and fast, and I am going to be pretty much focused on nothing but Echoes for a long time. There'll be a couple of bits interspersed here and there, but EVE Echoes is going to be the content I really want to push. I may end up having to start up a second channel for everything else, in fairness, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, folks, thank you ever so much for listening to this. Do let me know your thoughts. Maybe you agree with or disagree with some of the things I've said I'm looking forward to or not looking forward to, some of the things I want to see added, some of the things I'm hoping will happen. Maybe you agree with some of those or disagree with others. Let me know in the comment section down below. Come find me on your social media of choice. Otherwise, happy sailing, and I'll see you in New Eden. Eventually.